Hi, my name is Matthew Reinhardt, and I'm the paper engineer, the pop-up artist behind the new World of Warcraft pop-up book. And let me tell you, it was a huge challenge to be able to create this book. When the folks at Blizzard Entertainment came to me and they said, "Will you make this?" I said, "Yeah, sure." I mean, it was a place I'd never really gone to. I'd never really played the World of Warcraft games, but it was just like the most amazing opportunity to be able to explore the world of Azeroth and all of the different places and characters and battles that happen over the many, many different millennia and all the different stories of Warcraft. So making a pop-up, there's a lot of different steps. So it starts out, it's really, of course, it's a book. So we have to have words. We have to have ideas, what's going to happen on the pages. With this project in particular, I worked hand in hand with Blizzard and all the really creative folks there. And we talked about what should happen on each page. We actually started out with like 10 different spreads, but it moved down to we edited it down to 6. And they gave me some ideas about what would be best on each spread. And once that happened, what pop-ups to make. So the next thing is just me by hand in my work studio, cutting and folding paper and figuring out how all this goes together. And so that took a couple months at least, and a lot of back and forth with the team at Blizzard because they really know what the things look at, like the different structures, the different characters look like. So I was working back and forth with them, showing them pops, either making movies of them or actually sending them prototypes that I made. So making a pop-up book takes a long time. Oftentimes it's about 6 months in the whole process. This here is an early prototype of the Warcraft pop-up book. And you can see, like, I have to sort of design all the pop-ups. My job is called paper engineering. So I engineer all the mechanisms within the pop-up book. And the first time it happens, there are many, many mistakes along the way. I have to rebuild the pop-up and see where there's problems here and there, and then go back and make sure that they don't happen in the final version. So I will build something like this by hand at first, and then I'll take it apart, trace all the pieces in the computer, and reprint out those pieces, cut them out, rebuild it, and see how everything works together. So it takes a long time. Oftentimes, just the paper engineering, just making the pop-ups, takes about 2 months of non-stop design. So, and in this book, there are 6 spreads. I haven't done a 6-spread book like this in a very long time. And it's very complex. It's a very large book. So there's probably hundreds of different pieces going together to make just this book. On every spread, some of the spreads use at least 60 to 70 pieces alone to put all the pop-ups together. So the first spread features Stormwind City and the Alliance characters. And this one was particularly hard because there's several different buildings going on within the city that I had to kind of cram onto the page. So this transformative pop-up of Varian Wrynn showing his sarcophagus and then being able to pull it and sort of reveal his history, that was really a fun moment. It was really tough though because he's holding his sword in both different positions. So I wanted to make it so that his coffin, the statue in his coffin was showing his sword, but also when you pulled it, we would show him in the past wielding the sword. All right, this is the second spread, and this features Ironforge. And inside this mountain, there is an entire city of the dwarves inside. So I loved creating this one because not only do we have an exterior structure, but we're also able to look inside. I think that's part of the fun of creating books like this, is to be able to explore all the different parts of it from the front and the back, to look at it and explore within. And there's the abandoned city of Ironforge. You can see all the different details inside and like dragon skeletons and giant statues and all these molten metal forges right in the middle of it. So it's cold on the outside, hot on the inside. So this pop-up was really difficult because there are 2 different modes. You have to see it, it opens up and you see the ruins, and then you're able to pull it open with a pull tab, and then you can see like the undercity and underneath. And so the scourge is flowing. You can see it in the moats and everything like that. And like the interior of the Undercity and all these like cool pyramids and structures underneath. So it's there's this dichotomy of this dead city, and then underneath there really is a dead city, this dead Lordaeron, but there really is a city of the undead underneath. I thought that was a really fun way of making it happen. And Lordaeron is still, the walls of Lordaeron are still up above. So this was really challenging, making all these structures work and then be able to close and keep inside the book. So that one was a real challenge, but I'm really satisfied with the way it came out. It's super cool. What a surprise to be able to like peel underground and look and see this city of the dead. So this is one of the first pop-up trees that I've really made, like that's just a tree on the page. But this is a giant tree. This is Teldrassil, and there's a city on top of it, and this is the home of the Night Elves. So this was really tough because there's so much going on up on top of here, and it's farther away from the page. So when you're making a pop-up, it's easier when all the structure is based onto the pages. But the further up it gets, the harder it is to make. And so with this pop-up, there's also, with this pop-up, there's also a pull tab on top because Teldrassil is lit aflame. And I thought it would be really cool to recreate that explosion in fire on top. So we've got all the city here, and it's just as the city, the tree is about to go up in flames. No. Again, like this was a really tough pop because there are these structures underneath here that have to push up the sides of the tree like that. Orgrimmar. This is another one just like spread one where this structure all has to collapse back in on itself. And because Orgrimmar, there were so many different walls and pointy parts, like I felt like the whole time like I was always going to get poked with all these spikes and everything coming everywhere. But there's so much happening here, as with the gates that you can look inside, as well as like all these other structures all happening. And there were some really interesting sort of octagonal and hexagonal shapes of some of the buildings and walls. So we wanted to try to recreate that on this pop-up. So there's so much going on. And I think between this one and Stormwind, they both have probably the same number of pop-up pieces, which is a lot. I didn't count them all, but there's a lot in there. So each one of these, this is another one of those structures where it's just like there's so much complicated stuff happening all at once. We thought it would be cool to not only have, on the pages and all the little side pops, not only have that, not only have this book that transforms into a giant three-dimensional map, but we also thought we'd add a little something extra in and make a secret pop that you can only see when you open up the book like a giant map. So there's a secret pop that is hidden between the pages that is only really exposed when you transform the book into its map mode, so you can see all of Azeroth. And it's a pop-up of the Maelstrom. So we thought that would really be a cool way of sort of adding more dimension to the book and also adding an important location within Azeroth to the entire map mode.